This is an iHeart podcast.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
On the new podcast, America's Crime Lab, every case has a story to tell, and the DNA holds the truth.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
This technology's already solving so many cases.
Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Why are TSA rules so confusing?
You got a hoodie on, take it off!
I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
This is Devin.
And we're best friends and journalists with a new podcast called No Such Thing, where we get to the bottom of questions like that. Why are you screaming at me? I can't expect what to do. Now, if the rule was the same, go off on me. Yeah. I deserve it.
Lock him up.
Listen to No Such Thing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
No such thing.
Hello, from Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This August, we're bringing back some of our favorite Womanica episodes you might have missed. All month, we'll be talking about pink-collar workers. These women revolutionized jobs that have traditionally been called women's work. Through their lives, they created a more just and humane world for us today. With that, here's one of our favorite episodes. Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month, we're talking about workers, women who fought for labor rights and shaped the way we do business today. They advocated and innovated to make the office, wherever it is, a more equitable place. In 20th century Brazil, women had few choices for work. But there was one career that was readily available: domestic work. It was grueling, undervalued, and dangerous. Today's Womanica helped bring these realities to the forefront. Let's talk about Laudelina de Campos Melo. Laudelina was born on October 12, 1904 in Brazil, into a formerly enslaved family. Her parents worked hard, physical jobs. Her mother was a domestic servant, and her father was a lumberjack. When Laudelina was 12 years old, her father died in a tragic accident. In order to make ends meet, her mom needed to find a full-time job. So Laudelina dropped out of school to help raise her 5 younger siblings. Brazil was the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery. And at the time of Laudelina's upbringing, the echoes remained. Most domestic workers at the time were descendants of slaves, oftentimes only one generation removed. That was true for both of Laudelina's parents. Although domestic work was an important part of the Brazilian economy, it was treated as a second-class form of employment. Work permits were not required, and neither were employment contracts. This created a breeding ground for abuse. By the time Laudelina was 16 years old, she had seen those abuses up close. She, too, became a domestic worker. And it was around that time that she began organizing, focusing on bettering the lives of Black people in Brazil. She joined the Brazilian Communist Party and fought for the Black Brazilian Front. Her training there led her to creating the Santos Domestic Laborers Association, the first ever association directly addressing the needs of the domestic workers. Their goal? Educate domestic workers about their own rights. But her organizing during this period was not smooth. Getúlio Vargas, a controversial president, rose to power in 1930s Brazil. He ruled like a dictator, working mostly without a Congress. And while he introduced sweeping reforms across the country, they did not reach the rural poor. Organizations outside of his own central power, like the Brazilian Communist Party and the Black Brazilian Front, were shut down. While her organization for domestic workers came to a halt, Laudelina's devoted spirit continued on. She joined the Brazilian army during World War II. She served on the east coast of Brazil, and years later said that Hitler would eliminate all races that were not Aryan, especially the Black race would be eliminated. So that drove me. It brought a revolt within me. After the war, Laudelina moved to Campinas. The city had a long racist history. Some of its plantations held slaves until the 1920s. But that didn't stop her. Rather, it fueled the revolt within her. At the center of everything she did was the dignity of Black people. She created another association for maids and domestic laborers. This time, she tackled social issues, many that are still being wrestled with today, like sexual assault and mental health. But her association was once again shut down. Still, she forged ahead. Because Laudelina couldn't organize publicly, she began creating social events. Laudelina hosted dances, pageants, and debutante balls for her community. This was a way of instilling confidence in Black youth that, on the surface, was just for fun. But in reality, it made material changes to the lives of her community. In 1985, democracy was restored in Brazil. Laudelina restarted her organization for domestic workers. And 3 years later, in 1988, her Domestic Laborers Association officially became a union. Laudelina lived for the rights of Black Brazilian workers like her. She even donated her home to the cause. Today, it's still the headquarters of the Maids Union. Laudelina died in 1991 in Campinas. She was 91 years old. Laudelina, a woman born into a family of people who were enslaved, who saw people who looked like her abused and dismissed, lives on today in the movements for workers' rights all across the world. The revolt in her helped usher in a wave of rights that are afforded to domestic workers today. Thanks for listening to this best of episode of Womanica. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Join us tomorrow for another one of our favorite episodes honoring pink-collar workers. Talk to you then.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
On the new podcast, America's Crime Lab, every case has a story to tell, and the DNA holds the truth.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
This technology's already solving so many cases.
Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, this is Robert Lamb.
And this is Joe McCormick, and we're the hosts of the Stuff to Blow Your Mind podcast. We've got an exciting week ahead for you on Stuff to Blow Your Mind. It's Cat Week. That's right, to coincide with International Cat Day on August 8th, we're dedicating every episode in the Stuff to Blow Your Mind podcast feed to your cute, mysterious feline companions. So tune in for core Stuff to Blow Your Mind episodes on the earliest archaeological evidence for domesticated cats and the folkloric cats of the British Isles.
The week's monster fact will focus on a popular cat creature, and you better believe Weird House Cinema will cover some kind of head-scratching cat movie. So tune in August 5th through 8th for Stuff to Blow Your Mind's Cat Week. Find us on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.